Hi everyone and welcome. Really glad that you're here today. So just a few quick things before we get into it. Go ahead and say hello in the chat if you can hear me okay and see the slides, and let me know where you're joining from. We always get a pretty good spread of countries on these webinars, so it's just good to see the people are there. Quick intro for those of you who don't know me. I'm Stefan and I've been with Clerk since, 2014 now, actually as the very first employee. My title is Product Evangelist, which is essentially just a fancy way of saying that I'm a massive product nerd. And over the years, I've had the chance to work with more than 1,000 web shops on improving their results. So I've seen quite a lot of different setups and a lot of different challenges as well. So today is about something that we've been working on for quite a while, actually, and I'm really excited to show it to you because we're talking about Clerk.io's new email product. What it is, how it works, and most importantly, what it means for how you actually run your email marketing day to day. So the format today is going to be roughly 15 minutes of me talking about the product, and then we open it up for a Q&A session. So if you have any questions as we go, just drop them in the chat and I'll pick them up live wherever I can. And anything I don't get to, then we'll handle that in the Q&A section at the end. So this session is primarily for Clerk.io customers, but also, of course, for anyone who's been thinking about what Clerk.io can do for email. Either way, you're in the right place. So let's get to it. I'm happy to see that a lot of people are already writing over here. Okay, so here's what we're covering today. We'll start with why email, despite being the best marketing channel available, is something that most stores still underperform on. Then we jump straight into a demo because I want to show you the full journey from nothing to a complete working email program driven entirely by AI. And after that, we'll pull back and look at what it actually builds, the newsletters and the automated flows, so you understand the components. We'll look at how manual control works when you want it, and then we go to key takeaways before moving over to the Q&A session. So let's talk a bit about why email is hard. And I want to start with something you might already know, but I think it's still worth saying out loud. Email is the highest ROI marketing channel in e-commerce. That's just a fact. It consistently outperforms paid ads, social media, SEO, pretty much everything else when you look at return per euro spent. There's a lot of noise in the marketing world about which channel matters most, but email has held up that top spot for years and it's not going anywhere right now. So here's the obvious question. If email is so good, then why aren't most stores doing it well? And the answer honestly is that doing email well is really hard. Not technically hard, but conceptually hard. There's just a lot to think about. You've got to plan your campaigns, decide what to send, to whom and when, write subject lines that actually get opened, choose which products to feature and why, build out your automated flows, your abandoned cart sequence, welcome emails, post-purchase follow-ups. I can barely breathe, right? And then on top of all that, you also need to maintain it. Update it as your catalog changes, react when something isn't working. That's just an incredible amount of work. And it's even recurring work because it never stops, right? You always need to plan the next email. So what tends to happen in practice is one of two things. Either a store simplifies down to almost nothing, like sending one newsletter every single month, same email, same products, no segmentation, because that's manageable, right? Or they invest in a proper email setup using something like Klaviyo, ActiveCampaign, or MailChimp, which are really powerful tools, but they require real ongoing effort to use as well. They're not plug and play. You still need a strategy, you still need someone who knows what they're doing, and you still need to put in the hours. Most stores sit somewhere in the middle, which usually means email is underperforming. You know it, and there's always something more pressing than fixing it. Does that sound familiar to any of you? Because it does to me. So when we started thinking about what Clerk.io's new email product should be, this was the starting point. Not let's just build another email tool because there's a lot of those, but what would it actually take to make great email marketing truly accessible? Not just for the stores with a dedicated email marketing manager, but for everyone. And the answer we landed on was that you need AI to do the heavy lifting. So the promise that we are making, and I'm going to show you how this works in a few minutes as well, is a powerful email marketing campaign set up in just 1 hour a month. Not as a gimmick or as a marketing slogan, but as an actual outcome. 1 hour, one conversation, and your email program is planned, built, and scheduled for 1 entire month. So let me show you how this works. Let's take it from scratch. Exactly what it looks like to go from nothing to a full working email program. This is the full journey, start to finish. So everything happens inside Clerk.io. Our AI assistant that lives right inside the platform is what's handling all of these things. You just type what you want and it handles the rest. There are three things we're going to set up. First, the design, then the newsletters, and then finally the flows. So let's start with step one. Before you can send any emails, you need a design, obviously. That's just the visual template. The layout, colors, fonts, how your products are presented. The good news is you only need to set this up once, and Clerk.io can do it for you in just a couple of minutes. You just point it at your webshop URL, and it gathers what it needs from your site. The visual style, branding, what you sell, the fonts, colors, all of this stuff, and it builds you a complete email design. You don't need a design tool. You don't need a back and forth with a developer over several weeks. You just describe what you want and it builds it. You can even upload a screenshot of an existing email design if you already have something, and then Clerk will build something similar to that because it understands images and can translate that into actual design. You can then preview the design right from the conversation. So you can see the hero section, the product grid, how everything looks, and make sure that it all works before you're applying it. Or you can just talk back and forth with the AI to make any adjustments that you want in case the logo should be bigger or the product images needs to be different. The call to action colors need to change, whatever it could be. Regardless, it's usually a matter of minutes before you have a design that's actually very convertible, so you're ready to go out and send some emails. Done, design sorted, that's step one complete. So now we plan the calendar. You go back to Clerk and type something like, help me create the next 2 months of email marketing. That's actually all that it takes for most people. What it does from here is actually quite a lot. It looks at your existing setup, checks what's already scheduled or active, pulls in its own knowledge and Clerk.io's knowledge in general of email marketing best practices, what cadence makes sense, how to vary content, what themes tend to perform well, and then it ultimately builds a plan. Not a plan as in a document that you need to take somewhere to act on yourself, but a plan as in here are the actual newsletters, drafted and scheduled, just using the design you just applied. You review it, you approve it, and then it runs. I was just checking to see if there was any questions, but I'm just happy to see that people are confirming that you are actually struggling with these email campaigns. Also, just getting things integrated between two systems can actually be hard, right? So there's definitely something that you can get here that's going to help you. So let's look a bit further at this. We can see it exactly here when it's actually done creating our campaigns, right? 8 newsletters, 1 per week, running from May 20 over to July 8th. Each one of these targeting a different product category and a specific audience. Week 1 is a new season kickoff to all customers. Week 2 is a glove spotlight to customers interested in gloves. Week 3 is a bestsellers roundup, and so on all the way through. A different focus each week, a different audience segment with subject lines already written for each single one of those. So now I would just need to click on approve 8 changes, and it's done. And you can see the result immediately because in Clerk we have both like a list view where you can see, all of the different emails you've created, or you can see it on the calendar, which makes it a bit more visual in terms of when you're sending out each thing to make sure you're not cluttering in specific days and there's the good cadence on what's being sent out. But you can still see the result immediately. It's just all the newsletters planned out in the calendar. 8 weeks, fully planned, all scheduled and ready to go. That's what a single conversation just produced. So that's step 2. Complete. And then Chris is asking, would this power abandoned carts and tailored campaigns for customers' historic sales? That is a fantastic question and exactly what we're getting to now with flows. Because one thing is newsletters, which are scheduled and can be sent to audiences. That's basically where you plan when to send out. But flows are the fully automated ones that are reacting on something that customers are doing. So flows are the automated emails, the ones that run in the background based on what your customers do. You simply ask Clerk to set those up too. So that could be something like create these 4 flows: abandoned basket, abandoned browse, abandoned search, which to my knowledge, it's actually only us and Amazon that does abandoned search, and then a welcome email for new users. It then comes back with all 4 of these: an abandoned basket flow that sends 1 hour after someone leaves their cart, a browse abandonment flow that fires 4 hours after a session that didn't lead to a sale, an abandoned search flow for people who searched but didn't buy, and then a welcome email for people who just got subscribed, either for the first time or again after having been unsubscribed. Each one already configured with a product logic and a subject line. And then Nathan asks, are these optimized for both desktop and mobile devices, dark mode, and so on? Dark mode, I'm not sure of, but yes, they're absolutely tailored both for desktop and mobile. Again, we live in a mobile-first world, so everything we do in Clerk revolves basically around building a good mobile design first that then also works on a desktop side. For dark mode, I'm a bit in doubt of this. It might be possible because, again, our designs are just built in what's called MJML, which is a fantastic email engine for designs. So as long as that's supported by MJML, then yes, you can do it in Clerk designs as well. Then Marius is asking if Clerk can create pop-ups on the website to collect new customer email addresses. Yes and no. We don't have a built-in pop-up yet to do this, but it's something we'll likely get in the very near future. You do have API calls and a small snippet that you can add to collect email addresses to Clerk, which means that the only thing you would need to do is to add the pop-up yourself, basically. But again, this is such a new product that once we're getting all of this feedback like this, please send it to us, send it to our support team, because then we take it in and make sure that we optimize these things to make it as useful as humanly possible. So thank you also for these questions. Yeah, the short answer is no, we don't have a built-in pop-up yet, but we do have an email form that you can add to the site to collect emails that way, which you can also embed in a pop-up of your choice. So yeah, once you've talked to Ask Clerk.io, you just approve, they go live, and from that point, they run entirely on their own when it flows, right? Because they react on what's happening, either that somebody added to cart and didn't buy, or searched and didn't buy. So still one conversation, a design, 2 months of newsletters, 4 automated flows. That's it. That's the 1 hour a month promise in action. And also step 3, complete. Then Jasmine is asking how I manage opt-in addresses and customers who want to sign out. So basically, Clerk, it depends on how you want to handle it. We have some customers that want to use a combination of Clerk and an existing email platform like Clerk.io. And if you have Clerk.io to manage your lists, we can sync all of those subscribers to Clerk, so we will be able to send to the same people, which also means that when people unsubscribe in Clerk.io, that's synced to Clerk, so we don't send the email again. But if you want to move fully over to Clerk as well, we have built-in unsubscribe links as well that can be added to the email address, or so the email design, of course, both for like unsubscribing overall from all emails, but also for unsubscribing from specific lists, because this is not something I'm focusing on in this webinar, but Clerk can manage different subscriber lists, either as a main subscriber list for everyone, but also unique lists if you want people to sign up to only a certain category or a specific campaign, for example. So yeah, there's 2 ways you can do it, either when you use Clerk as an addition to your existing email client, or if you want to use it as itself, then you do it with these individual small embeds that I mentioned, which can sign up from the website and then unsubscribe links in the emails themselves. Now, I do want to be clear about one thing, because this matters. Everything Clerk.io creates comes back to you as a proposal. So nothing goes live until you approve it. You can review every newsletter, edit the subject line, change the product logic, adjust the send time, anything you want. You're always in control. So the AI proposes and you decide. And here's what makes this different from a generic AI email tool. Ask Clerk isn't working from a blank slate, basically. It knows your store. It has access to your product catalog, your sales data, your customer behavior, all the data that Clerk.io has been collecting since you set it up, and everything that was imported of your historic orders. So when it creates a newsletter about accessories, it's not just picking some random products from that category. It's picking the ones that your specific customers are most likely to engage with based on what it knows about them. That's the combination that makes the 1 hour a month thing real, because it's not just about speed, it's the output that's actually good as well. Then Chris asks, we have our main customer database on MailChimp. So Clerk can now store the full database and I no longer need MailChimp. Yes, that's correct. So basically the way it would work is that you could start by importing all of the subscribers to MailChimp. And then of course you would need to make sure that the email sent from Clerk has an unsubscribe link that matches the Clerk list that the customers are on. And then you would need to add this small snippet that I mentioned. It's in our help desk to your page where you can collect the email addresses of new subscribers. That can also be based on an API call. So you can basically integrate it, anywhere. If you want to do like a more customized solution, like sending a subscriber from the checkout flow or whatever it could be, right? But yes, Clerk can manage the subscribers, so you don't need MailChimp if you want to just run all the email marketing in Clerk. Then Svein is asking if we'll send a link to the presentation after the meeting. Yes, at least you'll get like a recording of this whole session where you can see all of it. so that you'll get automatically afterwards, after this entire session. Okay, so let's talk about what it builds specifically so you can see it. And let's start with the newsletters. A newsletter in Clerk.io is an email sent. So either a one-time immediate send or something you schedule for a specific date and time. You define who receives it, what products it features, and what design it uses. That's basically the core of it. So let me just walk you through what each newsletter actually consists of, because understanding that part makes it a lot easier to get the most out of the platform. So the audience is who receives the newsletter. That's one of the first things that you set. Without using our audience product, you can still send to all of your customers. And that works and is a perfectly fine starting point, but it does mean that everyone gets the same email regardless of who they are and what they've bought before or what they're likely to buy next. But with audience, that changes completely. And it's one of the most powerful things you can actually do with email, regardless of whether you use Clerk to do it or you use MailChimp or Klaviyo or ActiveCampaign. Because audience gives Clerk.io a predictive model of your customers. It doesn't just look at what they've done in the past. It predicts what they're likely to buy in the future. And you can use those predictions to build segments. A segment is a defined group of customers, for example, like customers who are predicted to buy winter jackets in the next 30 days, or customers who haven't purchased in 90 days but are showing browsing activity again, customers in the top 10% by lifetime value, or customers who bought once but haven't come back. And once you define a segment, it becomes available as a newsletter target. Ask can also create these audiences based on its knowledge about what's selling well and which audiences would be good to reach. So what this means in practice is that instead of sending just one email to everyone, you're sending the right email to the right people. And that's the whole difference between email marketing that feels like spam and email marketing that feels personal. And it's a direct profit driver. Higher relevance means higher open rates, higher click rates, and higher conversion. It's just that simple. Then Carlo writes that currently Clerk sends abandoned cart triggers only to registered users. Can I also send triggers to guest users through Clerk? And yes, you can. As long as you're able to identify their email address somehow. Because of course, we can never send an email to someone that we don't know who are in the end. And also, of course, they need to have allowed you to send email marketing. Otherwise, it's illegal, at least in most countries. So the way that you can do it is, even if a customer comes back and they have logged in sometime in the past, there is actually a small snippet you can add to send that email address to Clerk so they don't have to write it anywhere on their site again. But at some point, you must have the email address available, because otherwise Clerk is not able to send the email. We can't just send it based on a visitor ID in the end. So as long as the user is available in Clerk, we can see who they are on the front end, either because they just logged in or because you can identify the email in your front end somehow. Then we can send an abandoned cart email based on that. Chris writes that he already has a Clerk cross-sell and upsell integrated. If there's much more integration to get this set up in Magento. And no, there isn't. In short, of course, if you reach out to our support team, they can give you a more elaborate answer. But in short, the main thing you need to do is to set up an integration to MailChimp, which is something that takes 15 minutes, basically. It's just an API key and a list from MailChimp. Then you sync all of your subscribers. Then you need to add this snippet, which we have in the help center, to collect the email addresses of new users, for example, from the bottom of your page. And then if you want to go even deeper, if you want to also, for example, have them subscribe from your order page where they log in and so on, then you would likely need a developer to add the API call to send it to Clerk when they write their email address and say yes to newsletters. But that's actually all there is to it, because most of this can be done with one or two snippets, and the rest, as you can see, once the integration with subscribers works, the rest is just being done in the Clerk backend. So that's just something you do after the initial integration. So that's like a short answer, but reach out to our support team or ask Clerk.io in your backend. You can also do that. That's usually faster. What it takes to get it set up on your store, and it should be able to help you out. So the product logic is the second big lever of these newsletters. This is what determines which products appear in the email. It could be newest products that pulls your most recently added items. Really great for arrival campaigns. Bestsellers show what's performing right now, and recommendations based on keywords that you focus the email on a specific theme. So you basically just type something like shoulder pads or helmets, and Clerk pulls the very best products from the catalog on that topic. Then there are specific products if you want exact control over what happens, or one of the very best ones, which is recommendations based on orders, that's going to be uniquely tailored to every single recipient, as long as they have at least one click on something or one order with at least one product. Then the design is the third element, the visual template that controls how your products are presented, basically. And subject line is the last piece. Writing good subject lines is surprisingly hard and equally important, as I already mentioned earlier. It's often the entire difference between an email that gets opened and one that doesn't. Clerk.io can draft them for you, or you can write your own. And whatever language your store operates in, Clerk works in that language too. Flows are the automated side of email, where a newsletter is something you send out deliberately. Here's this week's campaign, for example. A flow runs in the background and sends emails automatically based on what your customers do virtually in real time, right? The most familiar example is, of course, the abandoned cart flow. So someone comes to your site, adds a product to their cart, and then leaves without buying. A flow catches that moment and sends them a follow-up email. Hey, you left something behind. That single email, sent at the right time to the right person, recovers a significant chunk of revenue that would otherwise just entirely disappear. Triggers aren't limited to customer events either. You can also set up scheduled or recurring flows. Something that triggers every week, every day, even every hour, potentially, might be a bit overkill, but theoretically, if that makes sense for your store. So a flow can be behavioral, based on what a customer does, or time-based, based on a schedule you define. And an hourly email, for example, could be something that you set up to run the entirety of Black Friday, right? Where you continuously send emails with, these are the products that are still in stock on my site, and you can still get a good Black Friday deal on. So there are actually cases where hourly emails make sense, but otherwise normally you would send maybe a daily one, weekly, or monthly one, just to keep customers up to date on something they're interested in. In Clerk, the flow builder is very visual. So, of course, this is also what Ask would do for you. But if you prefer building it yourself, that's also fully possible. You see the whole sequence laid out in a diagram, trigger at the top, which is what starts it, and then the steps and branches below it. You just click the plus button to add a step, set wait times, or define how the flow splits based on what the customer does. So the abandoned basket flow looks like this. The trigger is that the cart is abandoned, meaning they put something in the cart and then leave the site, right? And if the customer has already opened the previous communication from that flow, then the flow ends. No need to nudge someone who's already engaged. But if a day passes and they haven't, it sends them a reminder. You left something behind, pulling in the exact products they had in their cart. And the full configuration is right here in the panel next to the diagram. Subject line, product logic, design, all in one place, just like if you were building a regular newsletter. But in this case, just with multiple different ones in a flow. And as you've already seen, Ask can build these entire flows from just a single prompt, right? All 4 flows triggered correctly, email copy drafted, and wait times set. You approve, they go live, and from that point on, they just run entirely on their own. Good. How manual or automatic is up to you. So we've looked at what the AI creates, and now I want to talk about the other end of the spectrum, because not everyone wants to let the AI run the whole thing, and that's completely fine. Everything you've seen the AI build, you can also configure entirely by yourself. That's why I showed you these different UX parts, right? Every field, every setting, every decision, you can make it manually if you prefer. We simply recommend letting the AI do all the heavy lifting to free up your time for other things. But ultimately, it's up to you. So when you create a newsletter manually, you start by picking your design, then you set up a recipient list, and then your subject line. Then your product logic, newest, bestsellers, keyword-based, whatever it could be. And if you want to get more precise, you can even add filters on top of the product logics. For example, only show products with a high margin or products that are on sale. So you're not just driving revenue, but you're actually driving profitable revenue, right? Or it could be a filter by category, a price point, stock level, or anything else that you track for your products. You're basically just stacking conditions to get exactly the selection that you want. For flows, the manual path is the same idea. You pick your trigger, you build out your steps, set the wait times, define branching conditions, and the builder gives you full visibility into how the entire sequence works. So you can construct something as simple or as complex as the situation calls for, right? And here's something that applies to both newsletters and flows. And I think it's actually one of the most useful things in the whole product, because you can ask Clerk to make bulk changes for you. So if you create a new design, for example, and you want to apply it to all of your existing newsletters in one go, you just tell it, apply the design we built in the beginning to all of my emails. and it'll go through every single newsletter and flow that's already been created and update them for you. No manual editing needed. That combination, the granular manual control when you want it and AI-powered bulk actions when you don't, is what makes this practical for basically every kind of store. I can see that there's a few questions, and I'll take them once we get to the Q&A session, just so we finish the cadence here. The AI and the manual approach aren't two separate products. They're two ends of the same tool. You might ask Clerk to plan your whole month in one go, for example. Then go and tweak the subject lines yourself because you have a specific promotional angle you want to hit. Or you might build a flow manually from scratch because you have a very specific sequence in mind that the AI wouldn't have any way of knowing about. Or you might let the AI do everything and never touch a single setting at all. All of these are valid. The point is that you're always in control of how much you delegate. The AI is there to do the heavy lifting if you want it to. It's not there to take the wheel away from you if you don't want it. So the goal is that whatever your level of expertise and whatever your available time, Clerk.io email gives you a path that works. From the marketer with the full hour to sit down and configure everything perfectly to the founder who has 20 minutes a month and just needs it to run. So let's bring this together before we open it up. Email is still the best channel you have. The ROI is real, the data backs it up, and it's only going to get more important as paid acquisition gets exponentially expensive. The problem has never been that email doesn't work. It's that doing it well has just required more time and expertise than most stores can consistently commit to. That's what Clerk.io email is designed to change. It covers the full stack, newsletters, flows, and the AI layer on top that can turn a single instruction into a complete scheduled email program. Because it's built on top of your existing Clerk.io data, like your products, customers, and sales history, every email is personalized from day one, at least if you choose to do so, right? Some will, of course, be more generic, like bestsellers or specific in a category, but then sent to an audience that's interested in those, which still makes it personalized. But you're always in control. The AI proposes, and you approve. If you already have email in your subscription today, then you're actually ready to use this now. So just go nuts. If you don't have it yet, but you're interested, then please reach out to us to get it in your subscription. So that's the content side done. We have the rest of our time together for Q&A. So now it's really up to you. I will go through the questions that already came in, but don't be shy. Whatever came up during the session, questions about how something works, how to get started, what's included in which subscription, I want to hear it. So no question is too basic or too technical. Honestly, the questions that feel basic are usually the ones most people are wondering, so don't hold back. And if there's something I can't reply or answer to live today, either because it's too specific to your store or because it touches on something I don't want to get wrong off the top of my head, then please just reach out to our support team at support@Clerk.io or through our live chat. So let's go. Let me just start with what I wasn't able to reply to here. So Nathan is writing that we currently have abandoned cart emails in Klaviyo that creates a coupon with a 24-hour expire time automatically in Shopify. Can Clerk do something similar? The short answer is no, not yet, but it's a good idea and it's likely something we'll do. I would really recommend that you write this to our support team as a feature request because then we can send it to our product team. We don't have a built-in coupon, like coupon code generation right now, but if you create one with Shopify, you can still add that, of course, to the email that you sent today. We just aren't able to do it in Clerk, at least as of yet. Then Konstantinos is asking, how many contacts can we store in Clerk database? What if we delete some contacts? Will our paid plan get cheaper too? Not necessarily, because again, the way that's actually only for audience. We have no hard limit for how many subscribers you can have. We've seen thousands upon thousands of subscribers for some customers. And email is not actually priced based on subscribes. It's based on well, I think theoretically, yes, it is, because it's based on the amount of emails that you send ultimately, right? But if you do your email marketing smartly and you don't just send blast emails to everybody, then it doesn't really matter if you have thousands of subscribers because you'll still be sending emails to the ones that matter the most, of course. So in short, yes, the amount of subscribers will correlate to a higher pricing because of the amount of emails that you send, but it's not directly tied to how many subscribers you have per se. And if you then delete some contacts, then yes, that's usually a good idea regardless. But actually, that's one of the good things about sending many emails, because the people that won't buy from you anyway, if you send many emails to them, they're likely going to unsubscribe anyway. After all, a lot of subscribers is not necessarily a good thing because that can be expensive if they never buy anything. So usually when you just send, when you send a lot of emails, the ones that are likely to buy will start buying, but the ones who are not will most likely unsubscribe anyway. And of course, if you already have an overview of who's not buying, you can remove those from Clerk, so you have just fewer people to send to. Then Yannick asked if I can also send the email or not just create it. That's a very good question, and I maybe should have been more clear on that. You do everything in Clerk. So you create the emails, and Clerk also sends them. So that also means it's a full email suite in the sense that we don't necessarily want you to sit and do all the manual things. You can, but as you can see from this presentation, it's meant to be as automatic as possible. So yeah, underneath we have some email tools that are used to actually send the email through the design with all of the content that you create or that Ask created. So it is a full email suite that you can use in itself. You don't have to use a separate tool. Then Fee is asking how it works when your customers is from different countries and want to write email in different languages. Also really good question. The way it generally works in Clerk is that you get access to one account, which most of you likely already have, and then you set up different stores in Clerk, because each store will have its own language, its own product feeds from your stores, which will be in the right languages. And that also means that you'll be able to create the email marketing in the correct languages across each of those stores. And Ask has access to all of your stores. So you could theoretically just ask it to do like a month plan for all of your stores in the individual languages, the same concepts, but actually translated to the correct languages. That's going to be the same amount of work because it can do it across all of the different stores at once. So again, because it's an LLM underneath, then it will know every single language that's virtually available, right? And that means it can do email marketing in English, in Danish, in Italian, in Greek, in anything that you can think of. I saw someone from South Africa, I think, as well. So yeah, I mean, any language that's available to LLMs will be available. Then Jasmine asked, could I also send through Klaviyo? And yes, you can. It's just a little different in the way that it works, because normally when you use Clerk, as you saw here, you can just ask it to create all the emails for you, right? But if you prefer keeping Klaviyo, then you could still talk to Clerk about creating the email recommendations and the audiences that you should focus on. There's just a bit more work involved, because then you need to sync the audiences to Klaviyo to know who to send to, and then you need to apply our email recommendations in your Klaviyo templates to show our recommendations. It's still not a lot of work, honestly. It's still a lot faster than manually segmenting and manually adding products. So even if you want to keep Klaviyo, there's still a really good use case for audience and email. It's just a lot easier when you can just talk to Clerk and have it do everything, of course. Then Konstantinos asked, what about segmentation? Will the email tool include built-in features to help us segment our audience based on user behavior? The email tool in itself doesn't. That's also what I mentioned in, I think, in the middle of the presentation. Email is meant to just send emails. So if you also want to segment, you need the audience product, which is all about finding the right segments to send the right emails to. So if you only have the email product, you can absolutely send all of these campaigns. You can also use triggers and so on. That's not relying on audiences. But where it really gets strong is if you also have audience, so you actually understand and predict who is likely to buy what in the future, who's a VIP, who's slipping out of their normal purchase behavior. You will get so much more relevant email marketing when you also have audience, because you can basically say that in short, email knows what to send to people at what time, audience knows who to send to. And that combination is just super powerful. Then Alan asks, can you send emails to cold prospects who haven't visited the website? The emails do comply with the corporate subscriber rules in the UK. Theoretically, yes. I haven't seen the use case yet, but as long as you can sync the email to Clerk and you can give it the subscribed status, then yes, you can send emails. So as long as it's legal in your country to send an email to an email address, then you just need to reflect that in the Clerk backend. There is actually also a way where you can force an email to be subscribed. You just get a prompt saying, are you sure you're allowed to do this? And then you can do it in the Clerk backend or via API as well. Again, you just need to, of course, be aware that you get the tool as is, so it's your own responsibility to make sure that you follow the legislations and laws in your country to make sure you don't send something that's illegal, right? So that's a very long way of saying technically, yes, it's possible. Just make sure that it's legal to do so in your country within the rules, right? Yeah, lots of really good questions. Keep them coming. I'm just sitting here waiting for more, treading water, basically. So let me know if you have anything else. It seems like this is something that's relevant. Fee is asking, can Clerk email make monthly performance reviews and make suggestions for better performance? Very good question as well. And yes, it can. So what I show you here with Ask is, of course, very specifically for the email marketing. But one of the things that Ask is super good at is understanding your performance, your competitors' performance, the internet in general, how web shops work, our best practices. So you could just go in and ask it, look, it's now been a month. What should I do to make it better? You can then ask it to generate PDF reports if you want to share it with your inventory team, for example. If there's some products that you should, buy more of that people are searching for, or people are just buying a lot that tends to go out of stock. It has all of the knowledge about your web shop through all the data, all the orders, products, and so on. So that's also why I'm able to just build a month of email marketing, because that's where it uses all of its existing knowledge about your store and our best practices to build what's going to generate the most revenue. Then Nathan asks if we can automate reports to email to interested parties. Not today, but I think it's a really good idea. So send that as a feature request to our support team, because it would actually be quite nice if we could trigger reports from Ask, but right now it's on demand. So right now you have to ask it, okay, can you generate a report of what's going well? But I really see it as a good idea to have a more automatic, basically agent feature here that could send it to a specific email address. So absolutely send that as a feature request to our support team. I think that's a really good idea, because our founder actually has a different company called UpdateMate that does something like this. So we already know how to do it, where it's basically about connecting various platforms and then doing reports and sending them. So this is just not something we've built into the product yet, but I really like the idea for sure. Yeah. Anything else that you might have? I'm really happy to see all this engagement, because it also just proves to me that we are onto something here, because I have tried doing email marketing for web shops as well. And it is super crucial, but it also just takes so long, right? Because you also have to find the products. You have to make sure that you don't send too much to the same person if it's not very relevant and so on. There's so many things to be aware of, especially as your subscriber base tends to grow, right? Which of course happens. So there really is something here to be gained, because it is possible to really just sit and say, I want to do this, or even I just want to send 20 emails over the next 2 months. What should I send? It can be as specific or as vague as you want to be, because in the end, we have all this knowledge built in about what will work for your specific type of store. So yeah, any other questions? Just keep them coming. It's also really good to see how many different countries we have today. As I said in the beginning, that's really nice that we have from all over Europe and also South Africa and so on. It's really cool. Cool. No more questions coming right now. I'll still stay. Oh, maybe actually one here. Yeah. So as long as you keep asking, I'll stay here, of course. So for the designs, can we A/B test? Yes and no. I mean, we will have labels available for emails, of course. So you'll have, I didn't show this here. You can see that in our help desk as well. But we have a full dashboard that shows the performance of each email that's being sent. So you could theoretically just ask Clerk to create 2 versions of an email with 2 different labels to send out to various people. But right now we don't have a fixed A/B split testing, also where you can sort of say only half customers should get this, another half should get this. I think that's also a really good idea, actually, just to see what works. So please send that to our support team as well, because then we might be able to do a small feature that lets you send the same email with one change to 50% of the subscriber list, for example. It's just not possible as a standard today. There are ways around it where you can just give 50% of customers one tag and 50% of customers another tag, but it's manual today, basically. Then Yannick asked whether DoFinder will add this feature to their suite. I'm unsure. I don't know. As far as I know, DoFinder is primarily focused on search. That's at least where we mostly run into them in the competitive market, but I don't know what their future plans are for something like this. Again, to my knowledge, we're the only ones who do this. I don't think we'll keep being this, of course, but one of the benefits of Clerk is that we are, in my humble opinion, visionaries, in the sense that there's quite a number of things that we're the first to do. For example, we're not the first ones to release a chat like Ask, for example, but we're the first ones to be so deeply integrated in your existing web shop where you can actually ask about things that's not related to Clerk. Where most others like Shopify, for example, is of course based on Shopify's data, but it's still related very much to Shopify, and there's limitations there. And for our email product, we are the first ones to make it as easy as just talking to a chat that can actually create everything for you, because most other things are just about creating some smaller campaigns and so on. So I don't expect that we'll be the only ones to do this, but we might be for a while, because at least I haven't seen anything like this before. But yeah, that's one of the things that we pride ourselves on, is this visionary element of seeing where we can really make the biggest difference in the market, and what's the next thing we're going to come up with, right? So Nathan asks if GA4 tracking will be automatically added to the links within the email. No, not right now, at least automatically. But because it's just HTML, as I said, you can just do it afterwards. You can just send a snippet basically to Ask and tell it to integrate it into the design, or you can do it manually if you prefer, just to make sure that the tracking is entirely up to date. But to my knowledge, it's not something we've built into the system yet, because it's not all people that want to use it in the same way. But you can just ask Clerk to do it and send it the snippet if you want to, or do it manually, as I said. And again, now that some of you that are going out to test this and try it out as well, as I said, we really, really love to get your feedback, because we want to make this as amazing as possible. So there's so many good ideas here already. So anytime you come up with something that's like, why can't it do this? Please send it to our support team, because then they'll slowly send all of that feedback to our product team. And we do read and review all of it. And then we, of course, choose to build the things that for the least amount of time will ultimately give the most amount of value for as many as possible, right? And we are very focused on this product now as well. So any feedback that you give, there's a very real chance that it's going to be implemented within a fairly short time. I'm not going to make any promises on our product team's behalf, but it's just so you know that we are very focused on this. So feedback will be implemented faster than normal over the next weeks, because we want to make this like fantastic. It already is, I think, but we want to make it as good as we can, right? Yeah, don't be shy. Keep the questions coming. There's a lot of good stuff in here. Then Sandra is writing, for someone that is new to Clerk, how do you integrate Clerk.io to your website emails? Right now, the AI can't create any emails campaigns. Is it through settings? That depends, Sandra, on why it doesn't work, of course. If you're completely new, then the first thing you need to do is to sync Clerk with your catalog. How that's done, that depends on your platform. If you're on Shopify, for example, you set up a custom developer app, I think it's called, where you then add some credentials and sync to Clerk. If you're on Magento 2, you would need to install the extension we have and then sync data to that. On Shopware, it's a combination of like a plugin and some settings in the My Clerk.io backend. But of course, you need to sync the data first, because that's how we will be able to both get the email addresses of your existing customers, and then also all the orders and so on. And for the subscriber state, we need to be able to sync with your existing platform as well. So if you're on Klaviyo or on MailChimp, for example, it's just a little bit of an extra integration with an API key and a list, which is done under integrations. Because that's how we get the subscriber state. We won't get that from the web shop itself. We need some starting point there to be able to send out emails initially. But as you can see, you could just go into Ask now and talk to it about what you need to do, because as long as you have your domain set up and the platform configured, then it knows enough to guide you through the steps of what you need to do. And then Konstantinos asked about UTM. This I am unsure of. So here I'd like you to reach out to the support team as well, because I know we normally have some standard UTM codes about the source being Clerk and it being email and so on, also when you click products. So yes, I am 90% sure we have some built-in UTM codes when we create designs, but just reach out to the support team to ask to be absolutely sure that I'm not saying something that's wrong. And Sandra said MailChimp, perfect. That makes it easy, because MailChimp is one of the first email integrations we built way back. So there you can just set it up by it has, if you go to integrations, I think it's under general, then you'll be able to see exactly which steps to take for us to import all of your subscriber states from your customers. Then after you also sync with your webshop platform, you're basically ready to get started on this. Yeah. I'm also happy to see that so many people have stayed for the Q&A session to like get all of these extra things that I hadn't necessarily thought about talking about, right? So thank you for that. Yes, Fia asks, how does Clerk make pictures in email? In Denmark, there's a new law regarding using AI-generated content, especially pictures. So at least as of now, we don't generate images. We are considering doing it, and of course, we always follow the laws of, at least for Denmark, of course, as much as we can. But in the end, Clerk is a tool that can be used across any number of countries, right? So we also do things where you still need to be aware of what's like legal in the country. But of course, we don't do features where you can easily mess something up. So right now, the way we handle images is that you have a media library where you can upload images or banners or anything you want to use in your emails, which means that you can host them directly in Clerk and then use it in the email. So if you want to use AI-generated content, you could just use something like ChatGPT to do it, then add it to your media library and add a small text. If I haven't seen that law yet, so I don't know exactly what it means, but it makes sense that we get to that point. And in that case, you can still do it. We might also later implement, that's something we're already thinking about, a way for Ask to generate an image and then add, if you want to do that, to the emails as well. But that hasn't been released yet. So right now, it's the media library you can upload to, and then you can reference and show that in your existing emails. Then Chris asks if we would recommend keeping MailChimp and using Clerk for emails. Is it cleaner having audience and emails through Clerk? I think it's cleaner to have everything through Clerk. Of course, I have to say that, right? But also, if you look at the setup here, it is cleaner to have everything in Clerk because that means you can do all of your email marketing by talking to Clerk. The only reason why you would want to keep MailChimp is, again, because then MailChimp already has some really good like baselines for gathering feedback or for gathering new subscribers, where we are a bit more raw on that part, where it's still like a snippet you need to insert. Sometime in the near future, within the next few weeks, maybe we're going to be able to do it with injection, as we call it. So just like we can add Clerk elements without adding an embed code to the site, you can basically just tell Clerk where in your site to place the subscribe banner, and then we can do that without any development needed. So that's the only thing I would say would be bad about doing it strictly through Clerk, is that it still takes you a little bit more setup with the subscriber states to get started, but then afterwards it's going to be so much easier for you to do. So it ultimately also comes down to how you prefer doing email marketing, right? As you can see with Clerk, the way that we want it to work is for you to be as hands-off as possible, where MailChimp is a lot more about creating manual campaigns and being more nitpicky with the emails. But that's also usually what causes you to not send the good enough email content because it takes just too long to do. So yeah, Chris, that was a very long way of me saying I recommend doing everything in Clerk and just doing the initial setup it takes to get those snippets on the site, because it's going to be so much easier in the future. What you could do is, if you're not entirely sure this is how you want to work with it, just maybe try a month where you only run it through Clerk while you still have MailChimp active. And if you like it enough, then just cancel MailChimp afterwards. Because at least to my knowledge, there's nothing that MailChimp can do that you cannot also replicate in a Clerk email, maybe apart from like the visual design editor. But again, I don't think that's better than just describing what you want to do in the end, because it's still a lot faster than dragging and dropping things all the time. Yeah, I hope that answered the question. Let's just see if more is coming in. I'm just treading water a little bit here while more questions are coming in, if more questions are coming in, right? So just me rambling on about stuff. But yeah, I'm really excited to see also how people start using this, because one thing is that we add the tool, of course. Another is the creativity that people will have in terms of creating these emails, right? Because one thing is that we know what's going to work well, and that's what Ask is going to do. But then sometimes you might also have some ideas for something that's like completely outside the box. That's still like maybe really a good idea to do, right? And of course, Ask also has access to all the dashboards and all the existing emails that you're sending. It can also use that for future email planning, so it does more of what works best instead of just doing something that actually doesn't generate any revenue. So as I also said, that's how this really comes together, because one thing is that you can create email by talking to it, but another is that it's actually doing what's going to be highly converting emails. And that's for sure something that's going to make a difference. Okay, guys, I can see that no more questions are coming in, so I'm wrapping it up here. If for some reason that you have a question that you have just been burning to ask, but you didn't want to do it here, or for whatever reason it didn't work technically, I don't know, then please reach out to our support team. Again, at support@Clerk.io, or through the live chat in your Clerk backend or on our help desk. There you can get in contact with one of our amazing supporters who can help you in the right direction and answer your question. So apart from that, I just want to say thank you so much. I'm really happy with all the engagement here. It was super awesome. And then I just wish you a fantastic day. Have a good day out there.